Welcome back to The Way with Jazz and Tay. It's your girl Jazz and
Shantaé.
And before the break, we went into our interview with Liz from Coffee and Combos with Liz and learned a bit more about actually kind of like who she is and what she's about and how that connects and relates to her podcast. So we had a really good conversation and she gave us some really good advice. So thank you. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into our review of the week, which is of Insecure. Again, it's the 5th and it's the final season. So they're trying to tie up everything and put nice little bows on it. But we're actually going to be reviewing the last 2 to 3 weeks episodes because we've not been on here to give y'all the rundown. And a lot has gone down. These episodes are short, but a lot comes down. Okay. So I don't remember necessarily the last episode that we dropped off on, but basically, Lawrence has moved back to LA. Issa's seen him and Miss Condoleezza and their baby at the hospital dealing with Molly's mom's illness. And let's see, moving down, Nathan has said, "I love you" back to Miss Issa, which is wow. That's huge. That means that, their relationship is just moving and putting right along. We've got Miss Kelly over here who is going on she's on this journey of like refinding herself. And we kind of get to see Kelly for the first time since the first episode of this season and kind of see what's been going on with her between then. Amanda Steele's character, she dropped a bomb on her girls. She's about to dip up out of LA. And everyone is shook about that. Tay, is there anything else I'm kind of missing there? I'm trying to give a rough thing without getting too into it, yeah?
No, but we could kind of touch more on like what happened in this last episode 7, where they had their little their girls' night. Yeah, so in that episode, they just got together. I think it's something that they used to do more frequently on like a Sunday.
Yeah.
And one thing that was noted is that they hadn't seen each other in like 3 months. So they're catching up and just seeing how everybody's living. And I personally thought it was a very interesting episode because it's very like this show in general for me is very like synonymous with where I am in life. Like it feels like these are my group of friends. This is how I interact with my people. And I almost feel like I learn from it every episode. But in it, there's like a lot because, Nathan and Issa finally got together. But in this episode, they're like in a rocky place. Like he hadn't said I love you yet.
And they've not really talked. Like it's a little awkward.
It was a lot of that, like what I was saying from the last time we talked about it was that if they're going to be together or just be friends because it's going to get messy with both of them not knowing how to act.
So that's what their friend said. Their friend said, "You're being real inconsistent, Issa." And that's exactly what that is. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess I just wanted to ask a few questions of you guys or get your general thoughts. In this most recent episode, Nate does finally say "I love you" to Issa, which she's been waiting on, and this is really the reason why they weren't talking. And then Lawrence, of course, makes his untimely pop-up back into her life at the very end of the episode. What are our thoughts? Is Issa gonna be as inconsistent as usual?
You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yes, girl.
Let you go first.
I was gonna say you're like, I'm like, please, sis, give it.
So here's my thing, right? So Issa did all this about, I want Nathan to say I love you, but like, is that really what you wanted? Because he did it. But the night before, you're like, oh, should I call Lawrence? Then Lawrence calls. And like, she would have picked up the phone if Molly's words weren't like, oh, you need to like leave that alone. So like, do you really want this man to say you love you? Like, or do you want Lawrence? And like, she needs to just like, what is it? Like, what is the thing that you want? Because that's why she's being inconsistent. It's driving me crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, because, go ahead.
I felt that this entire, like, as soon as she started to like kind of hook back up with Nathan, I was like, he's a rebound. And that's what it feels like. And then when she said, that's what I love about you, I'm like, girl, like you cried in his mouth a couple weeks ago. I'm like, it's a lot. And when they got into that fight, I was like, I'm on Nathan's side, because it's like you are literally all over the place, and really it's like you're just trying to get you want a man, you really want Lawrence, but Lawrence isn't going to work out, and Nathan's just there,
Amen.
And so it's just kind of BS. Like if she cheats on Nathan with Lawrence, or does anything to where she breaks Nathan's, I'm going to be so mad.
You know, I'm exactly where you're at, Tay. I agree. I think 100% she only broke up with Lawrence because she felt like that was what she needed to do,
right?
Not because she wanted, right thing to do. You know, she's not because she wanted to. You know, she still is totally madly in love with Lawrence. Like them even getting back together and being like, yeah, we're gonna do this. That was still so new when all of that happened. So those feelings, I'm sure, were all still very fresh. And like to have to make that decision or have that kind of stuff happen. Of course, she's trying to force herself to find someone else or find that in someone else, you know? And I'm sure she probably thought, I'm not going to have to see him anytime soon. Maybe the next time I see him, I will be over him, you know, maybe I will be healed. But having that timing happen the way that it did, I don't think it was good for her, because yes, like she was so ready to call to call Lawrence. And then the fact that also she's clearly on his mind as well. Like, these two have so much unfinished and
unresolved,
unrequited.
It's not unrequited. Unrequited when like you love somebody and they don't necessarily love you back.
Oh yeah, no. These people love each other.
Does Lawrence love her back?
I think he does. I think he's ready to come ruin her life.
Yes, I no, not ruin it.
Not like in a bad way, but like he's ready to come ruin her life. Like not in a bad way. Like I think they belong together. But like she's already moved on. So he's ready to come and ruin whatever the hell she's got going on. Because now Condola's like, I want you to be happy and you're in LA. You should go do what you need. Oh my gosh.
I think what they're gonna end up doing is trying to put some weird like 21st century twist on things. And you know, Issa can have both of her mans. Condola can have Daddy Lawrence in her life. You know, Lawrence and Condola can still be co-parenting. And then when Issa doesn't want to deal with Lawrence's baby, just be up with Nathan. Like, you know what I mean? There's a way to make this work if everyone could be adults about it. Okay.
I was gonna say, do you see that for any of these characters?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm just saying.
I'm like, that sounds like the show where Jasmine is the main character.
And that way, I was going to say, that way everybody wins.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not happening here. Issa's too awkward. She also, like, she got so, like, jealous and in her feelings and awkward when she saw them at the hospital. Like, no, there's no way they're sharing.
The baby, that was hilarious, though.
Oh my God. I was like, I should not be laughing like this. And I thought it was too funny. And I was like,
it was so funny, girl. Like, aw, F them kids.
So what do we think about this episode's theme? For me, it resonated. You have this great group of friends. You usually see each other often, but they've not touched base in 3 months. And now one of their really great friends is moving to Denver. I think it personally shows that stage of friendship where you're growing up. Like everybody's growing up and growing into different paths or areas of life. Did it resonate with you guys? And what did you think of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. You know, that's the part of adulting that they don't teach in school, is like when you are trying to schedule like meetups, like so many times I'm like, okay, like we're gonna go to breakfast. No, because I have to do this one. I have to bring the kids here or bring the kids there. And like sometimes friendships, like even like not brief, but like sometimes it's like, I'm gonna text you, hi, just so I know that you're in my mind, or just give you a call. And like you pick up, like at this stage, like I value friends where I can pick up right where I left off.
Yeah.
You know, I know that, you know, just because we don't see each other doesn't mean like there's any bad blood, but like we're all busy. So having those group of friends where it's just like, right, like, you know, no time was lost is valuable. And I think that's what it showed.
I completely agree.
I was gonna say I agree completely. And even what you were talking about was just like, you know, both of you guys growing up, or just kind of like that transition, and just those friends that you can, pick up as if nothing, left off. Those are the ones that are like those core ride or dies. Those are going to be your friends for life, because you'll run into those situations too, where like, I'm sorry, I can't make this happen because I've got A, B, and C going on. And then those friends are, oh, well, they've changed, or how come you don't have time for us anymore? And we used to do, and like, taking it as a personal shot rather than being understanding and looking at the full picture here. Like, we're 28, 29, 30. I don't know how old we are now, but like 8 years ago, even 5 years ago, doing the stuff that we were doing, we can't do anymore, and that doesn't mean that we don't like each other, or that, we wouldn't love to do that with each other anymore. It's just life has now taken us to different places. And it's those who understand and embrace it, those are the ones that, are that core solid friend group. Those are those defining, times and transitions.
Absolutely, because I'm forgetting her name, but like Amanda Seals, her character was like, what happens if I have another baby?
Tiffany.
Yes, Tiffany.
Oh,
and I go through depression. And they're like, well, we'll be right there. And like, I think, like you just said, like, those are the friends, right? It's easy to be there with your friends when things are going good, but when things are going bad and they show up, like those are the friends that you need as you get older, because like life gets crazier as you get older.
Absolutely. Dang, Jasmine said something that I thought was interesting. It was the whole like that transition period of the friendship for me is like, I feel like that's where I'm at in life. And it's very, very interesting seeing them go through it, because again, it's like I'm sitting here and I feel like I'm trying to watch to learn like how do I do that in my life? But I just really appreciate that they showed that for once, because I feel like in my life, it's been a lot of like people are upset because, oh, we don't talk as much, and they're holding grudges or whatever. And now there's just like unnecessary friction. And I'm the person where I'm like, I'm not really sure where any of this is coming from, because like from where I've been, like we haven't really had like there's no beef. There's just been a lot of time and distance between us. So like that's the issue. But it's like other than that, like if we were to meet up, for me it would be the same. So I'm just kind of confused where that like tenseness or the animosity is coming from. And so I just hope that like people watching it, they see it, and I just think that it, to what you said, it's important to know that like we all have our own lives. And I think that like the sooner people learn that, the better.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to tell your friend like, we're all grown. Like we can't beat up under each other like we were in college. Like that just doesn't even make sense.
Or even like just not being offended, like when Tiffany made that decision, she made it based on her life and her family. And you don't consider how your decision is going to affect your friends. And like they were just like, this is what's best for you. And like, that's okay. And they were supportive, not like, well, what about me? What am I going to
do?
Well,
Kelly was like, you couldn't have told me. Like, I don't care about these, but you couldn't have told me.
Right. No, and I thought that was really interesting as well, because that's another thing is that as we get older, we're making decisions based on ourselves and not like who's around us. And
that's important, because I know first and foremost, anytime I'm like contemplating something that might be like, a major decision, or like something that, is a big choice, I'm always running it by my girlfriends or like my friends. And it's like, and your girlfriends are always going to have different opinions and ideas. And there comes a certain point in time where their opinions are matter. Definitely ask for their opinions, but do not make decisions based solely off of friends' opinions.
I think it's great for perspective. But
Yep.
I think we had a conversation recently, it reminds me of, and I said, I asked Jasmine a question back. I was like, what do you think? And she was like,
oh,
ooh.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? You're right. I should stop asking you. Let me sit down and ask myself.
It's not that I don't want you to ask me, but that's probably how I would approach it, because it's like, at the end of the day, I can tell you what I think, but it's your decision, your life, and you're the one who has to live with the decision at the end of the day. And it's just interesting, because I think that like me being in therapy currently is helping me, because I think that this is something that I've kind of struggled with, not with my friends, but just like family and all of that, like not really basing my decisions off of what I want to do. So taking that
Mm,
step
Amen.
back to be like, you know what, Shantae, like what do you actually want? And
Mm-hmm.
looking like that. And then I think like my therapist has helped me to do that for myself. So it's like now I want to try and help my friends. Like I'm always just like, well, like why do you think that's happening? Or like what do you
Mm-hmm.
think about the situation? So that maybe you get a little bit more clarity, when you really just sit there and think about it. And
yeah,
not
because like
cloud
when
it
you're
with,
asking someone, what do you think? You're really just asking, is what I'm saying making sense? Like, what am I missing here? Like, you're just trying to connect your
Mm-hmm.
own dots.
yeah,
So like asking those questions back of like, well, like, how does that feel for you? Or like, well,
yeah,
did you think about this? Because that's really, you're just looking, you want to have that full picture.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes your friends, when we were younger, I don't know so much now. I'm like, I don't know if I should be taking your advice, or like it's
That
really
part.
biased or clouded. And
Yep.
I'm like, I don't know that this is even where we should, nah, probably shouldn't be asking you. So
Right. You're like,
it's
thanks for
all
the input, but
right. Okay, so that was a really great conversation. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for our review of the week so that we have a little bit of time to talk about Jussie Smollett being charged, or being
Yes.
found guilty, I should say, of disorderly conduct. Stay tuned. You are listening to The Way with Jazz and Tay.